Why they killed him.
On August 19th, Navy F-14 jets similar to this one, operating from the carrier Nimitz, were attacked by Libyan planes over offshore waters claimed by Libya, but not so recognized in international law. The F-14s promptly shot down 2 Libyan planes. And 2 days later, President Reagan, after reviewing naval power aboard the carrier Constellation, made sure that everyone got the point.
The demonstration of firepower and efficiency by the air wing was impressive. But what's most important, it is also impressive to the enemies of freedom in the world. And we had an example of that just night before last in the carrier Nimitz.
It was shortly after the August incident that reports began surfacing that Gaddafi, enraged by the loss of planes and face, had ordered Mr. Reagan's assassination, a charge the Libyan foreign minister emphatically denied at the time.
It is an American fabrication to which we are used to.
But by last weekend, those denials were being disregarded by U.S. authorities. An informant developed by the CIA reported that Gaddafi had ordered Mr. Reagan's murder, a report the FBI director acknowledged receiving.
We have sources that we are relying on and tasking to keep us informed, and we're acting on the information in the best way that we know how.
Ever since, authorities have pursued the case with top urgency, not because they were absolutely certain of the informant's information, but because they were absolutely certain, given Gaddafi's record, that such an allegation must not be taken lightly. And the principal target of the purported plot wasn't taking it lightly either.
As you know, I hope you'll understand we don't talk about security measures in situations of this kind, so...
But you are taking them seriously.
I think you have to.
The assassination threat never materializes, but Washington keeps a close watch on Gaddafi's activities in Libya and abroad. The day is February 16th, 1983.
Once again, American planes and ships have been moved into position to deal with a threat to peace from Libya's leader, Colonel Gaddafi. Pentagon correspondent John McWethy has this exclusive report.
ABC News has learned that the United States has secretly deployed 4 early warning AWACS planes to Egypt on short notice and has rushed the aircraft carrier Nimitz and 3 escort ships from the coast of Lebanon to Libya. Officially, the Pentagon says it is all part of exercises in the region. Unofficially, intelligence sources say the movement is a direct result of an apparent military buildup by Libya spotted in the southeastern corner of that country. A buildup which Pentagon sources fear could foreshadow a move to overthrow the pro-American government of Sudan, headed by President Ghaffar Namiri. The Libyan buildup, which includes several dozen Soviet-made combat aircraft, has caused so much concern that Egypt is preparing to reposition some of its forces to the Sudan-Libyan-Egyptian border region. Last week, Egypt's president, Hosni Mubarak, put in an urgent request for American assistance. For more than a week, the U.S. government has had detailed knowledge of what Gaddafi had in mind for Sudan. ABC News learned earlier this week, but refrained from reporting at the request of certain government officials, that Gaddafi had infiltrated into Sudan a small army of guerrillas and insurgents, all bent on the overthrow of the pro-American government headed by Ghaffar Namiri. Gaddafi's plan was explained to ABC News with the understanding that it not be reported until Sudan had broken it. That happened today. The plan called for the heavily armed insurgents to assassinate Namiri, his top political and military leaders to seize control of the capital city Khartoum, immobilizing Sudan's small military. Simultaneously, Libyan fighters and bombers, which had been repositioned in the southeastern corner of Libya, were to make airstrikes at key points throughout the city. Because the aircraft would have been operating at maximum range, the plan called for the insurgents on the ground to take over Khartoum's airport and for Libyan planes to land there. Once the airport was secured, the plan called for Libyan C-130 transports to bring in the first Libyan combat troops to help support what would have then been the new government of Sudan. But with the American and Egyptian moves this week, and now the arrest of saboteurs and insurgents in Khartoum, the old government of Sudan seems secure. John McWethy, ABC News, the Pentagon.
It is now widely believed there was an attempted coup today against Libya's Colonel Gaddafi. Reports reaching Western Europe from Libya suggest that a group of anti-Gaddafi gunmen attacked a barracks compound in Tripoli, where Gaddafi spends a lot of time. Libyan security has reportedly put the revolt down, but the situation remains unclear. Al Dale has been monitoring events from London.
Libyan television tonight showed pictures of bullet-riddled bodies lying in the streets of Tripoli. The Libyan version is that a group of British-trained terrorists took over an apartment building and were killed when government troops moved in. There was no mention of an attempted coup, but reports from the city indicated heavy fighting in the vicinity of Colonel Gaddafi's residence, an army compound on Tripoli's southern edge. Airline passengers arriving back in London tonight said what sounded like artillery and rifle fire went on for hours.
The fighting went on for a long time, so we figured that if they were getting into the barracks, they must have failed because there was a lot of fighting.
Libyan television broadcast these scenes of Colonel Gaddafi, apparently to show he's all right, but there was no indication of when the pictures were taken. Earlier, state TV showed what was described as a slain terrorist who had infiltrated into Libya with others on Sunday. The broadcast said the alleged terrorists had been trained in the Sudan and in special camps in Britain, echoing Gaddafi's recent theme that certain nations, including Britain and America, were acting against him.
These nations have proved to the world that they are terrorists and that they're stupid.
Tripoli is described as tense but quiet tonight after the country's borders and main airport had been closed for much of the day. Al Dale, ABC News, London.
Your leader is alive and well. That was Gaddafi's message as he made an unexpected appearance in downtown Tripoli to acknowledge cheers from hundreds of supporters and issue a warning to those who are trying to kill him.
We have the right to fight here and to follow our enemies everywhere.
He wouldn't say if he plans to dispatch hit squads to other countries, but he blamed the U.S. and Britain for most of the trouble. Today in London, a spokesman for a group claiming responsibility warned it would step up its attacks against Gaddafi.
Their aim was to eliminate Gaddafi personally and take over the barracks, which are the nerve center of Gaddafi's government and Gaddafi's regime.
In their effort yesterday, they got only to this apartment building, 3 miles away from Gaddafi's barracks, before soldiers with rockets and tanks overpowered them. Gaddafi is trying to play down the danger. Today, he strolled casually through a clothing store, acting more concerned about fashion than assassination.
Are you afraid of other attempts being made on your life?
No, I'm not afraid at all.
Colonel Gaddafi has long insisted that he has no political enemies, but one would never know that by the security that was out in force here today. On Quadrip, ABC News, Tripoli.
Libyan strongman Colonel Muammar Gaddafi has quashed another coup attempt against him, according to the Egyptian government-controlled newspaper Al-Aram, which claims that units of the Libyan Army and Air Force mutinied rather than obey orders from Gaddafi to invade Tunisia. According to Al-Aram, Gaddafi's personal guards crushed the mutiny, and several Libyan military officers involved now face an urgent court-martial.
Despite the attempts to overthrow him, Gaddafi remains firmly in charge. In 1985, a series of terrorist actions throughout the world shock and anger America. Gaddafi is identified as a central figure. The day is December 27th, 1985.
The terrorists struck at the same hour, 9:15 in the morning, at the airport in Rome and in Vienna. 16 people are dead, more than 100 injured.
From ABC